G'day guys, it's Dr. James Simcock here, and I'm just going to do a short story for you for our VetDojo members. We're just going to go through another tplo plan. Did one of these probably a month or so ago, and we've got a bunch of new members since we did that one, so I just wanted to go through the process for measuring the tibial plateau angle, how we plan out our tplos, and just kind of highlight some of the features of this VPOP program, which is an orthopaedic planning software from a guy called Rory Patton in the UK, and it's a really fantastic software program. It's not very expensive and allows you to basically import all kinds of files. So JPEGs, DICOMs, you can take photos and import those, and they're able to be used on computer, iPad, iPhone, tablets and devices, all those kind of things. So really helpful program and one you can kind of use everywhere. So I actually do the planning in my office. So I'm just on my iMac here, and then I'll take my iPad into the operating room and actually pull up the same program and use the program in there to make sure I'm actually getting my plan executed into the patient. So a couple of things. First thing we want to do is actually calibrate the image. So you'll notice that we have our calibration marker here, different calibration markers that you can use, but this one is basically two balls that are 10 centimeters apart. And it's important when you use these calibration markers that you have these markers actually at the level of the area of interest. So they're at the level of the tibia, and it's going to be just elevated slightly off the off the plate to make sure that we're adjusting for magnification. So first thing we're going to do is calibrate. So we hit that calibration here. We can actually zoom in on here to make those balls bigger, and then we actually want to drag these balls down, and it's 10 centimeters from the bottom of each ball, or bottom of one ball to the bottom of the other ball, or top of one ball to the top of the other ball. We hit calibrate, and now this image is calibrated. So next thing we want to do is measure our tibial plateau angle, and I do this slightly differently to the way that is described by VPOP. I basically mark out our joint surface. So first line is the one that we're going to work out the tibial plateau angle. So I'm just putting this first cranial point. You'll notice that we've got the intercondylar eminences just here, and then we've got the tibial plateau, which is kind of in here, and it's a bit of a sclerotic line that we can just make out through this section. And there's normally a little dip at the front here, and you can actually see a little osteophyte there. So the cranial aspect of the tibial plateau is kind of generally just in that location there. And then the caudal aspect, I bring this line up and just meet at the caudal aspect of the tibial plateau, just in this location here. Just while we're looking at this, you'll notice that the femoral condyles are not perfectly superimposed, but it's actually a fairly straight lateral tibial shot. So I'm actually happy to accept this one. The other thing that's interesting in this case is that there is this little bit of periosteal reaction here, and I had a chat to the owners about this, and my gut feeling was it was most likely related to like a muscular tendinopathy related to the gastroc muscle. So you can see the gastroc muscle here. And I think it's just a chronic injury that's created this periosteal reaction. It's also obviously a common spot for getting tumours like osteosarcoma. So I did talk to the owners, and we discussed a CT scan before surgery, which we did today, and that was all normal. So that is the first line that we want to look at there. Second line that we want to look at is going to go from the intercondylar eminences, which are right here, down to the centre of the talus. And then if we look here, we get an angle which is 63 degrees. So if I take that angle and I minus that number from 90, we get about 27 degrees. And so that's what my tibial plateau angle is going to be in this case. Second thing we want to do then is to get our saw blade tool. So we can come over here, and now this is calibrated. We can actually look at this quite cool tool. So at the moment we've got a 15mm blade on here. We go all the way down to 8.5 or 8mm blades, but in this case we're going to kind of choose a size that we think is appropriate. I'm actually going to go up to about a 21, and what I'm going to do is kind of lay this on here. Normally we want the center of the saw blade to be right on these intercondylar eminences, so we could center it right here. In this case I'm just going to bring it back maybe a millimeter or two. Potentially you could argue that going down to an 18mm blade would give you a better kind of shape and width to the tibial crest, but I elected to go for a 21 blade, and just to center the saw blade slightly further caudal, not a lot, but just slightly from the intercondylar eminences. And as long as you're within a couple of millimeters there, I think that it's acceptable to do that. The other landmarks you want to look at here, we want to have the saw blade exiting the tibial cortex at a right angle. We don't want it to be a down cut or an up cut. And then at the cranial aspect here, we want this saw blade to exit Between this kind of sclerotic area, if I move this away, you can see this sclerotic area in the bone here. That's actually right where the the patellar tendon inserts on the tibial tuberosity. So that sclerotic area is important to try and preserve. So we've got this space between that sclerotic area where the patellar tendon inserts, and then we've got the tubercle gyrty back here, and that's where we want that saw blade to basically exit. The second thing I'm going to pay attention to, and I think this is the most important part of the whole thing, is to make sure that we've got an appropriate shape to the tibial crest. So we want it to be a trapezoid shape where the tip is narrower than the base, which is wider. And then we'll measure the angle of D1, D2 and D3 and see exactly what those measurements are. But that shape is really important. So the base is wider. We don't want to have a bigger blade, like a 27 here or something like that. And we end up with this really kind of long and skinny tibial tibial crest. If we have a tibial crest that looks like that, it's really long and skinny. Sometimes they can even be more dramatic. Look like that, where it's actually got a bit of a waist to it. That would be a really poor kind of cut location. And if you have a very long and skinny tibial crest like that, there's a very high risk of fracture. So once we've done that, we can actually now cut this out. So we can just bring our tool around here. We can cut out that top section, we hit done. And then we can actually now rotate this top section around. So if you look on the left, we can see the rotation. I'm going to go back to about, kind of argument's sake, 27 is what we measured. You could argue that, right, we're going to go back to 23, 24, because that's going to be 4 degrees less than 27. So anyway, you can come back to around there, 23, 24. And I don't really pay too much attention to the chord length, so this distance that we've rotated. I'm more interested in just seeing what happens. Once we rotate that proximal segment around, I want to see how my implant's actually going to sit on there. So on this program VPOP, we've got heaps of different companies we can choose from. We're going to use VOI today, and so we've got an elite plate here. And now we can choose left or right. We've got our sizes, 2.7 broad, 3.5. And I'm going to bring this plate up and look at how this is all going to kind of come together and sit. So we're going to go with a 3.5 small plate, a stubby plate I like to call them. And what we're looking at here is we've got all of our screws here within the diaphysis of the bone, and they're not going to penetrate through the cranial or caudal cortex of the bone. And we can see that's going to sit in there quite nice. And then the next thing we're going to do is make sure that all our proximal screws are seated well within that proximal segment and are away from the osteotomy there. So we can just kind of play with that, manipulate that a little bit, make it look even probably a little bit nicer. And that's where that plate's going to sit. Okay. So the other thing we can do now, this is I think really important to try and take what we've planned into the operating room and then execute it, is we want to measure some points on here. So we can measure from the tibial tuberosity up here. We're going to get about probably 13 degrees. We're going to do another one, and we're going to measure from, again, here, and we're going to come down this way, and we're going to get about 12 degrees. And then we're going to do one more. We're going to measure D3, and we're going to put this one over here at basically the joint surface, and I'm going to come down to where my osteotomy is. And that's going to be about 90 millimeters, 20 millimeters. So it's going to give me 3 points that I can then mark on the bone and make sure my saw blade's going to sit in there. So when we make our cut, I know that my cut's going to be in a really, really nice location. I'm not going to do surprises on the post-operative x-rays. So that's the tplo plan. The other nice thing in here is we can make some notes on here. So we can bring this text box up. We can write in here, for instance, what D1 is, what D2 is, and we can put in our angle. So it was 27 degrees. And we can put in all the other information that we need, and that can just sit on there as part of the record. So really, really cool program. I really love it. It's very simple to use and very intuitive. And probably one of the easiest and probably most cost-effective planning softwares that we've used. So that's the tplo planning. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Obviously, feel free to sing out if you have any questions or comments, and hope you're having a good day. Cheers, guys.